Suraj, I guess the audio is still not working for me. Now it's working. Yeah, so now I would like to call Alicia to carry on with the code of conduct, and then Sharanyadi will start the session.
Good evening, everyone present here. So, guys, now I'm going to spell out the code of conduct for today's session. So, number one, you'll have to be nice, respectful, and interacting on the Bevy virtual live chat or social media. Number two, do not post anything if any adult content, rude or offensive statements. Number three, do not advertise or promote anything. Number four, do not spam, posting the same thing again and again. Number five, harassment of any kind is not tolerated in this event. And if you fail to follow this code of conduct, you'll be blocked from interacting on the chat. And last but not the least, report to GDSC at the rate lpu.co.in if you find anything inappropriate. So that was all about the code of conduct for today's session. Now I would request Sharanya Di to take over the charge for today's session.
Hello everybody, welcome to today's session, and today we are going to cover Google Cloud with Flutter, and it's going to be a really amazing session because we have a very wonderful speaker with us who will be taking over the session very shortly. We are a huge community now with more than 2,000 members, and these are the things we have covered so far. That is, on the first day we covered the introduction, second day the Dart fundamentals, third day we went on with making material apps and discussed stateless and stateful widgets. On next day we described the Firebase with Flutter, and today we'll be going on with GCloud with Flutter. Moving on to discuss more
Adding
about
to this, we will be having another session for day 6, and day 7 will be something like live coding, and we are planning for that. And duty labs and all those things will be covered. All those who are offline, that you will be benefited, but those who are online, we will be covering in hybrid mode. So make sure to check it out and stay connected on social media, right? Okay. Yeah, then David, you can proceed now with your presentation. And yeah,
Yeah, can you guys see me? And am I audible?
yep, perfect.
All right, great. So, welcome everyone, and also thank you, Sharon and Suraj, for a very nice intro. So, today I'll be guiding you guys through the fundamentals, the whole concept about how you can connect your Google Cloud with Flutter. So, first of all, in order to do this kind of connection, we need to know, first of all, what is Google Cloud, and then we learn something about how we set up the Flutter project in order to connect. Then we can proceed with To be more specific, this session will all be about introduction. So as Rod mentioned, we will have another hands-on live coding whereby you can create a real mobile application whereby you can be performing interactions with Google Cloud, for instance, image upload, data cloud storage, etc. So without further ado, let's continue. So in this session, as I said, we'll guide you through Google Cloud to have a tour, and then we take you through how to create different virtual machines on Google Cloud. And we have Linux and Windows. Then we go through some basic commands you can interact with the Cloud Shell. And as you guys can see, we have this Cloud Skill Books link for you guys to practice how you can utilize applications of web apps. So this link we also share it in the chat session so that you guys can have a look at it. So yeah, thanks, Raj. So let's move on. All right. So as you guys can see, Flutter is the new era. It's a very nice, very interactive and beautiful mobile applications developed by Google. And with that, it's also have this Google Cloud as a very big support, as a backbone to help you build more scalable applications, utilizing this Kubernetes, different engines to help your mobile app to be more powerful. So Google technologies are great, and I'll recommend every one of you to venture into Flutter to see how best you can utilize it. Yeah. So Flutter is the first UI platform that was designed for an ambient cloud computing world. This one was quoted by the product director, Flutter and Dart, Tim Smith. So yeah, anyway, what is Google Cloud? So first of all, you guys, can you guys just give me a very brief definition? What do you think Google Cloud is all about? I want to see in the chat session. Okay, so I'm waiting for you guys. What do you think Google Cloud is all about? So just leave Flutter aside, Google Cloud alone. And what do you think it's all about? And I believe some of you guys also participated in the 30 days of Google Cloud, right? Okay, Ayantika is saying too many data. Okay, why too many data? Are you seeing a lot of data on Google Cloud? Okay, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Okay, IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Can you guys give me some idea? For instance, me personally, I don't know what is IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. Okay, and Sumit is like storage on Google. BJ, Google Cloud is like a server where we store data. Okay, great. Infrastructure as a service, great. Cloud service type, platform as a service. Okay, great. Yeah, so IaaS simply stands for infrastructure as a service, SaaS, software as a service, and PaaS, which is platform. I'll guide you guys through what is all this about. And these are the different type of services where cloud can provide us. Okay, and then yeah, platform as a service. Okay, so Google Cloud. Let's move on to next slide. So what is all about Google Cloud? So Google Cloud is simply a suite of, or we say a suite of Google Cloud computing services that runs on demand. So whatever you need, they can provide you. You pay as you go, and all the other stuff. So we use this internally for its end user products such as Google Search, Gmail, Google Drive, and YouTube. So these Google Drive, Gmail, Search, and all of that can provide you as a software or maybe platform as a service or infrastructure as a service, depending on what you need. Then you can proceed further. So as you can see, cloud computing. Cloud computing can Google Cloud provide us 5 fundamental characteristics whereby we can utilize their technologies. First of all, is on-demand self-services. As I said, you pay as you go, whatever you need, they provide you, then you take it. So there's no intervention or who will be an intermediary to provide you the service. Whatever you need is directly accessible. And then it's have a broad network access. That means you can access it from anywhere at all in the whole world. So for instance, in case maybe in this particular, you have different developers in different countries. For them all to utilize one single platform, Google Cloud can provide such functionalities for you, which you don't need to all. And we have resource pooling. Resource pooling simply provide a pool of resources, which whereby multiple people can access it at and we have this rapid elasticity. So here where we come by the concept of Kubernetes, whereby, for instance, your server is kind of overloaded, and Google Cloud can auto scale, which provide you more what's called resources to according to the number of users accessing your application at a time, and which in the form is kind of elastic. So, for instance, if you are few member using, you don't need to resources. So it's will auto scale down. And when there are more users, it will scale up to provide you more resources for more number of people to access it. And we have measured service. So this is where service behind all that's the things that we are doing. So it charge you exactly the amount you used. It won't charge you over, or it won't charge you less. So it's only pay for what you consume. So yeah. So let's move on to next slides. So as here quoted, every company is simply a data company. Yeah, very good. So yeah, coming back to the IAS, PAS, and SAS. So as you guys what's it called, the chat session. Yes, IaaS simply stand for infrastructure as a service. So infrastructure as a service, simply just imagine that you are building everything from scratch. The type of CPU, the type of RAM, the storage, everything you need. You are building everything. So infrastructure as a service provided by Google Platform. You can specify your CPU, your memory, your storage, your networking. So this is provided as a service by Go, and whatever you need, they can provide it to you. So the only thing you need to do is that you have to configure them, the exact amount you need, etc. And then we also have this compute engine, whereby you can create your own what's it called, virtual machines, or your own what's it called, servers, Windows Server, Linux Server, etc., for your own use. And the user needs to manage the OS and application, which whereby skilled people to be who knows this infrastructure as a service in depth to handle it. So infrastructure as a service, one way or the other, gives you more. The only disadvantage is that you need to know how things works, set up your own environment, your own infrastructure. And then we have platform as a services. So platform as a service is kind of a managed service. All you need to all the user provide, all the user. So we simply have this type of platform, for instance, Google Drive, or what's it called, Gmail, etc. Provide you this platform, then you can use it as a platform as a service. So moving on to next, we have software as a service. So the platform and software is providing a service to the user, whereby you just then whatever it runs from the backend, it returns you the outputs as how you guys use your simple software applications. So software as a service simply requires no work. All you need to do is that you just need to supply things, and then you get a desired output. And the platform as a service, whereby it allows you to configure some things, to be able to build on top your own software based on a single platform. Then you can go further with it. And infrastructure as a service, as I said, for you to be able to have to use this infrastructure service, setting up all your app engine, compute engine, your what's it called, your CPU, your RAM, etc. To the next slide. So we have this attendance form in the chat session. Kindly fill this form to mark your attendance for today's session. So yeah, as you can see, these are some of the service areas where Google Cloud provide all their various service hubs. And you can see we have so many. For instance, if you are familiar with Google Cloud Platform, we have different regions. So this sort of represent different regions whereby you can have access to. Yeah. Next. Yeah. Okay, great. So here I'm going to talk walk you guys through what are some of the services that Google Cloud can provide. Compute engine. So as I said, the compute engine is just imagine that it enables you to create your own machine, your own virtual machines, server, Linux server, Windows server, your different kind of infrastructure as a service. You can build up your infrastructure as a service to be able to connect with your own business or your own applications. So with this compute engine today, I'll walk you guys through how you can create your Linux, how you interact with this with them as well from using SSH, etc. And then we also have Google Kubernetes engine. So Kubernetes, as I said, it provides you, it can monitor your application to enable to scale up, scale down, depending on the number of people accessing your server. So with that, it's what can, as you guys can see, sometimes when you access maybe some applications, you might feel like the application is stuck, data is not flowing, why is it not working and stuff. So this sometimes can happen when there are a large number of people accessing this application at a time. So what you guys can do is that run your service on this Google Kubernetes engine, whereby it auto detects the number of users accessing at a time. It will auto scale up when there are more number of users. To auto scale down where. So it simply does not put your server down, or it makes your server all the time alive. So, and for instance, when there's one server about to go down, it have another copy whereby it just migrate everything into there seamlessly. So you never experience any server down or any network down, such etc. And then we also have this app engine whereby it can help you to create different apps supported by this Google Cloud. And we also have Cloud Function. So for instance, Flutter, you can use Cloud Run to run your web applications, whereby you can walk you guys through during the hands-on session later on. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, and we also have Cloud Bigtable, Cloud Storage. So Cloud Storage is also one app that we're building with you guys, whereby you can, how do you manage to store your data on the cloud services and retrieve them, like what you guys did previously in Firebase, Firestore, etc. We also have Cloud SQL to manage all your SQL data and stuff. And we have Cloud Spanner and Data Store. Next slide, please. Okay, so we also have how do you get value from different data? So this big data is whereby when you create, you have these ML application or AI applications whereby you want to learn, what's it called, study some pattern. For instance, we have my friend, we developed an application whereby we gather different type of crops and analyze them using this big data, BigQuery. So we also have PubSub. PubSub is also there for you manage your Google Cloud certain functionalities. We also have data flow, data prop, and AI platform notebook. Since you guys know, you might know something about this Jupyter Lab. Similarly, Google Cloud also provide you their AI platform notebooks for you to be able to utilize certain functionalities. So we also have machine learning model whereby vision API, speech to text, text to speech. For instance, you can develop an application whereby you simply just take a picture of certain, read the text for you, or you can just talk to the your phone. It will just display the text on your phones. You see this iOS 15 latest model whereby you can extract text from images. So you simply take a picture, and then whatever text that is present in the image, you can just copy and paste directly from that particular image. So we also have Cloud Translation API and AutoML. Yeah. So kindly fill the attendance form as in. Okay, Sumit is having is IAS like RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol. Okay, you see, Remote Desktop Protocol, from what I know is that you already have the service built up. So IAS is more like you don't have anything. You are now going to get all your items from scratch. For instance, you want to set up maybe your software company or your software office. You need to get a PC. What kind of PC you need, what kind of storage or RAM, just specific everything. So it simply helps you to build up the infrastructure for you. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. So there are 4 ways for you to interact with Google Cloud. So to interact with Google Cloud, like Flutter as well, we have this Flutter SDK, as you guys might know. So similarly with Google Cloud, you can simply use your Google Cloud Console, which obviously is the easiest way to interact with Google Cloud Console. I'll display it to you guys later on. And we also have this Cloud SDK. Cloud SDK is there, so you can simply go to their site, download it, and then you run it from your PC by like Flutter SDK, how you interact with it. And then we also have REST-based API. So we have different kind of APIs Google provide for you to utilize them in your application. So this is when you want to build something customized for your own use. Maybe you want to use their YouTube APIs, you want to use their map APIs to build maybe a delivery app, or build maybe a weather app, Google Map APIs, etc. And then next, we also have Cloud Console mobile app. For Cloud Console mobile app, you can simply just pull it, and then it supports both iOS and Android. So today's session, I want to walk you guys how you can use this Google Cloud Console. Obviously, the easiest way to interact with it, so that you guys can quickly grasp up some knowledge for our upcoming session, how we can interact your Google Cloud with your Flutter. So let's see. I would like to share my screen if you guys can see it. Okay, so I have the access now. Okay, just using another web browser. Okay, kindly give me 1 to 2 minutes. I need to configure something before I can share my screen. So I'll hand over to Suraj after 1 or 2 minutes, then I'll be able to share my screen.
Yep, for sure. Meanwhile, we can take some questions, or if any queries is there, or we can answer that. Saranya is here, and me as well. You can go ahead with some question if you are having. Use the Q&A section at the top for the questions, so that it will be easy for us to answer your questions, right? Yeah. Minority. Any questions, any queries so far? Okay, what kind of project are we going to make? Firstly, the fried mind, you should join with your real name ID, right? So that we can recognize who is who, right? So project will be something like we will be implementing all the concepts, those were taught in the previous days, like from the day one, or you can say day zero. So those things will be covered in that session. That will be live coding. Yeah, something. I think David
So
is back, right?
yeah. So I would like to share my screen with you guys if you can have the access. Okay, great. Please, I hope you guys can see my screen.
Yep.
Okay, great. So let me simply walk you through someone. So first of all, I would like you guys to go through this package we'll be using in our project. This is called GCloud 0.8.5. It's a Flutter package you need to install into a Flutter app to utilize these Google Cloud functionalities. As you can see we have this Cloud Data Store, Cloud Storage, Cloud PubSub. So these are some of the services they provide. You also need Google APIs package. I'll share this link in the chat box as well so that you can have access to it. Yeah. So simply just go through these two packages, how you can implement it, and like just walk through them so that next time it will be easy for you when you are implementing it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. So as you can see, this is another link whereby it's how that uses Google Cloud to run these web applications. So using this Cloud Run functionality. So without further ado, let's jump into the Google Cloud Console, how you can interact with Google Cloud the easiest way. So this is where simply go to Google, type GCloud. With the first link, you can register and open your Google Cloud. So to use some functionalities in Google Cloud, you need to simply add your credit card. It won't deduct anything at all. When you want to access some paid services, whereby it will start deducting. So it's totally free for use. So simply just hit confirm. If you don't have it, you can just sign up for it. So this is where the Google Cloud Console, it for you to access any services from this Google Cloud platform. This simply click on this navigation menu, and you can see a list of all these what's it called, pin that they offer to you as a service. So mostly what we'll be using is this cloud storage. Let's see how it is. This cloud storage enables you like Firestore, etc. for you to store things in your Google Cloud, retrieve them, doing this CRUD applications, create, read, update, delete, etc. So you can simply create a bucket. When you create it, buckets, config them in your Flutter applications, and then you can be making requests, storing things here, etc. So this bucket simply just imagine this as a folder. So like a folder on your desktop, whereby you open it, you put things inside, you access it and retrieve things. Yeah. So and Google Cloud also provide other more functionalities. So IAM simply Cloud Admin enables you to add security metrics to your application, whereby you give access to people who you want them to access maybe your bucket, or you want them to access a particular resources from your cloud platform. So here is whereby you manage things for security purpose, who can access it, who have the authorization to do things. And we also have these APIs and services. So APIs and services, you see tons and tons of what's it called, functionalities or things that you can enable to use in your Flutter applications. So for instance, if you are building maybe this dialog flow, as you guys know, you can use it to web applications to interact with customers when they come onto your platform. You can ask them, okay, what do you like to do? As you guys can see on some websites, they will just pop up like a chat. Yeah. And Cloud Vision API, natural language for you to do translation, etc. And as I said, the speech to text and text to speech. So to use it, you simply click on it and just enable it. When you enable it, you'll be able to download this JSON file as authentication, like your authentication token in your normal applications, and simply add it to your Flutter app, access it, then you can make requests and use this service on your Flutter applications. So this is the API libraries. Anything you need, simply search. Google will always provide it to you. As I said, we also have YouTube. So here is whereby you can create an application. Maybe you want to access this user's favorite music or their playlist from YouTube. You can simply just use this YouTube API provided by Google, connect to your Flutter app, and you can go ahead. And we also have this map. Map is generally used by a lot of people. So when you search for this map API, you can use it to customize your own maybe delivery applications, your Uber, create something like Uber clone, and etc. Such kind of applications. Yeah. So okay, and we also have this Cloud Shell is a place whereby we just like your normal terminal, you run commands to interact with the Google Cloud Console. So whatever you do here, by accessing the service, creating a bucket, and doing stuff. Do the same directly from this command line by just typing the command here. So this is whereby you can interact with it. Yeah. So let's back to our agenda. Today we are to create Windows machine, Linux machine, and do some simple SSH commands, etc. So it's in order to create maybe a Windows machine, you simply just it's from compute engine. So just type compute, and then you'll be able to access this compute engine. Or another way, alternatively, is to just come to this navigation menu and simply scroll. You find this compute engine. So just click on this compute engine to depending on network speed. Yeah, so we have these VM instances. So if you guys maybe might be doing this cloud virtualization, etc., whereby you are using this VM workstation pro, etc., so this is also alternative way for you to create your cloud instances. For instance, your Windows virtual machine, Linux virtual machine, etc. So to create we're creating an instance. An instance is simply like just imagine an instance is like a machine. Yeah, what you use to access something further. So just click on create instance, give it a name, maybe my Windows. Yeah, and then you can add labels to maybe quickly look for it next time. So when it comes, you just search for this particular label name you gave. It will just pop up this machine for you. And then the region and everything, just leave them as default. A series, and all these things simply gives you different kind of memory configuration. Which what do you need? So if you need maybe high memory, you can simply select the one further. So this is just a demo, so I'll just go with maybe 1 gig. And then when you come to display device, compute, automate. So here is whereby you'll be asked to lowercase, sorry. Yeah. So here is whereby they might deduct some things from your account, since to access this instance is paid services. So for initially you can start your trial, which will be for free for you guys. So when you reach a certain limit, then they'll start charging. So whatever I'll be doing, we make sure that it's totally free for you guys to use it. So, yeah, and this is what all these things just leave on default. And here is whereby we can specify what are we actually trying to create with an image. So here it specifies that Debian type of Linux. We don't want it. We want to create Windows. So we simply come here and select a particular operating system where we need. So we just type Windows. So yeah, you can create a Windows and specify the version. You can choose to 2012, or you can choose a bit later on, 2019, data center for containers, etc., and specify the size. No need to be too big. 20 gig is quite enough, and a balanced persistent disk. So we click on select. Okay, it should not be smaller than, all right, yeah, so 50 GB. So depending on what you choose, they recommend a particular minimum size for you. And then API access, what do you want to access from your app, and then the firewall rules, whereby in case you are making some request, what do you allow? You can allow HTTPS or HTTP traffic, and then simply hit on create. So this service might take some time for you to load depending on your internet speed, as you said. So when it's done, you'll be able to access them from here. Yeah. Posting. Yeah. So in case you guys face any issue regarding this is simply a walkthrough. In case any issue at all, feel free to contact us to guide you through how you can set up your cloud console. And for our next project, we'll be using all these. So make sure that you guys have a basic understanding of all these functionalities. Just try them out. Yeah. So let's go to our VM instances since it's still running. So meanwhile, the chat box, what is needed in basic programming? Okay, let's start with Shubanka, if I want to know more GCloud, then from where should we learn? Okay, great. So Suraj have given you console.cloud, this free trial version, whereby this is where you can register your Google Cloud account and then start using their free trial to be able to um, learn some concept. They also have this documentation. You can go through the Google Cloud documentation just to have basic understanding. So don't worry at all. We will still guide you guys through from the next session, the hands-on section as well. And and then we also have what is needed in basic programming in cloud. Okay, to be honest with you, zero knowledge, nothing. You don't really need to have any prerequisite knowledge to be able to start programming in Google Cloud. Everything is right from scratch. We can just proceed ahead. Yeah. So in case any questions, you guys can ask during the Q&A session. So let's back with this. You see, it's still running. So you need to have quite a strong internet access before uh, you might see it running a bit faster, since everything is based on cloud. So without Wi-Fi or without good internet speed, you might face a bit of challenges. So for the meantime, in case you guys have any questions, you can ask so that we help you to answer them. Okay. And make sure to also fill the attendance form to mark your attendance for today's session. Okay, so let's not wait for this to finish creating. Let's move ahead with what are some of the different things we. So, as you can see, we also have this Cloud Run as I use it to um, run your web application. So you create a service, and then you specify your image URL. So here, in case you guys are familiar with Docker, you can put your Flutter applications in a Docker container, then put the image URL here. It will simply use this Cloud Run functionality to run your applications on this Google Cloud for you. Yeah. So this is whereby you can just put it there and stuff. So other services we have on Google Cloud, APIs I've shown you guys, whereby you can use it to access different functionalities and services. We also have this OAuth. OAuth simply like to do authentication for users using Google and stuff. And then we also have security measures for you to make sure that it's not a machine that is accessing your applications or your web applications. So these are some of the things. So to view all products, let's have an overview. So we have management side, compute side, storage side, and operating side. Mostly we use storage, but don't limit yourself. Go ahead and try out these Kubernetes, these management API service and stuff. So as I talked about this Kubernetes, we can, okay, let's see, enabled service, okay, are not included in free trial. Okay. So this is whereby you can enable Kubernetes for your API application, for your application to help it to auto scale so that you can build scalable applications to handle more users. Yeah. So you can enable this service. You can also try it in the Explorer. So I think this is all for this Google Cloud. Unfortunately, we couldn't run this the buckets. Sorry, we couldn't run the Windows app due to this. See, it's still not here. Let's try again. Let's try again. Okay, what was the error initially? Okay, so let's leave the name as default. Select our boot disk as Windows, and then minimum 10. Let's leave it like default, and let's hit. Okay, so monthly, in case you are using a paid account, monthly to charge $61.24. So you guys is that try not to use Google Cloud for your authentication. Authentication, it's better to use maybe Firebase authentication or your application. So as you see, they charge a lot for this, for you to authenticate your users and stuff. And if you guys maybe have the required skills, you can also create your own server and then your own authentication services, Node.js backend to just handle your authentication for you. But if you want this cloud service to handle everything for you, well, be ready to spend, since as time goes on, it will be more expensive. So we are still waiting. Anyways, yeah, so that is all for this Google Cloud session. I've also shared these two packages in this chat session so that you guys can understand of it. So when we are doing the hands-on session, it will be generally easier for you. So I'll hand over to Sharanya or Suraj to continue with the session. And in
Thank
case,
you, David, for the amazing session we just had, and also for the hands-on experience on Google Cloud that you just showed us, covering the basic concepts in detail. And now, if you guys have any questions, you can start putting out in Q&A. There were a few questions. The recordings of previous lectures will be put up on a YouTube channel very soon, just after this campaign is over. So you will get it there. And any more question related to Flutter, Google Cloud, or anything, you guys can put it up in the Q&A tab. We got one question that says, can we use MongoDB as our database? Yes, you can use MongoDB as your database.
yeah, it's actually more recommended to use MongoDB as your database. So always do that. And you can also configure your own backend with Node.js, connect with MongoDB, and serve as
Okay, I just have one question. Yesterday we discussed Firebase and today we discussed Google Cloud. So what do you think is the difference between these two? Both are by Google, right? So what do you all think is the difference? Okay, I just asked you like a general question that says, yesterday we explored Firebase and today we discussed Google Cloud. So what do you think is the difference between both? Firebase is specific to phone applications? No. Actually, Firebase works with everything, including games, include website, desktop apps, everything it works with. So does Google Cloud. We had got the exact answer that I expected by Raman, that says GCP, that's Google Cloud Platform, is a platform that contains IaaS, PaaS, but Firebase is just a backend as a service. That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yeah, and also
Okay.
Firebase, you can just see cloud. So it's more specific for these mobile applications, whereby you can handle your notifications, your storage, and all those things. Cloud is more big, more general. It's kind of the parent of this Firebase. So whereby any at all applications or your devices Google Cloud, and it can handle something bigger. Yeah. So Google Cloud is simply the parent of this Firebase, and Firebase is more specifically uh, oriented towards mobile applications. You can connect your iOS, your Android stuff, and just perform your web applications as well to perform all your services. Yeah.
Okay, great. Meanwhile, we can go with one video. Uh, in the meantime, you can ask your question in Q&A tab, and that will like Flutter with you can integrate various Google APIs, right? So let's quickly jump over to
I'm Kevin Moore. I work on the Dart and Flutter teams at Google. Building applications with Flutter is great. You get amazing flexibility and fast developer cycles. And now support for 6 platforms: iOS, Android, web, Windows, Mac, and Linux. But it's rare for an application to be an island. Connections to services is what brings an application to life. Aside from the chess timer app I use with my kids, I can't think of an application I use that's not somehow connected. You can use the Google APIs package to access over 180 different services from your Flutter and Dart applications. This talk will get you started. Here's the outline of what I'll be covering. Let's get started. Google APIs can be broken into 2 categories. There are APIs for engaging with user data, so think email, contacts, tasks, books, fitness, even YouTube favorites. And there are APIs for cloud services, so think storage, BigQuery, compute, Kubernetes engine, Memcache, translation, and many more. Let's get started by authenticating a user with a Flutter application and getting their favorite YouTube videos. Now, this talk is pretty short. My goal is to get you excited about what's possible, so I'm going to skim over some details here, but don't panic though. You can visit flutter.dev/go/Google APIs for a step-by-step guide on how to get started. Here's a checklist of what we need to do to configure our application. We'll start out by creating a Google Cloud project. This allows Google to know about you and your application. Now, if you already have a Firebase application, you already have a Google Cloud project, and you may not even know it. Next, we need to enable the API you'd like to use. In this example, let's enable the YouTube Data API version 3. Now, because we're going to access user data, we need to have the user authenticate. Google Cloud uses OAuth for this. You need to configure authorization for each platform you want to support. Now, today I'm going to be showing you how to configure a Flutter web application, but our documentation explains how to configure applications for mobile and desktop as well. In our case, we're going to go with a web application. Make sure to put in your local development host so things work while testing. Localhost at port 8080 is a good one. When you're ready for production, you'll put your production host here as well. Since we're setting up our application to access user data, there's a review process that you'll have to go through before any user can use your application. While you're experimenting and testing, you can simply pre-authorize some test accounts you plan to use during development. You can see Add Users button here under Test Users. Now that everything is configured, let's move on to the code. With a Flutter web application, you configure your client ID in the app's HTML head tag. Then you can move on to the Dart code. All of the 180 APIs are in the Google API, and you can find that on pub.dev. This package is generated from API descriptions provided by each service team, so we will keep it fresh with the newest APIs and the latest features. We import the YouTube v3 library. You can see the library we import there. And we need to create YouTube API object. But where do we get the client? This is where sign-in enters the picture. To get an authenticated HTTP client, we need to authenticate the user. This links back to all the work we did to set up our project. We create an instance of Google Sign-In, and we provide the scopes we want to access. In this case, we want read-only access to YouTube data, so YouTube read-only scope is used. Notice that the scope is hanging off the class we want to use, in this case, YouTube API. Again, scopes allow us to negotiate the access rights our code will have to the user data. Now, how does our application know authentication has finished? Well, Google Sign-In provides an event to watch for user change. Listen to this event on current user changed. When the user is not null, we have a successful login and we can get the videos. Now that we're signed in, we can get an authenticated HTTP client from Google Sign-In. We create a YouTube API, then you get favorites. Remember, these APIs are generated from generic descriptions, so make sure to read the documentation to understand how to use the API properly. In this case, list, there are some magic seeming parameters that you have to use. I think LL here stands for liked list, for instance. Once you have the favorites, we can use set state to store the video information. Now that we have a signed in user with video data, let's create a UI. Google User Circle Avatar is a widget provided by the Google Sign-in package that lets us display the current user. We can use a list view to display all of our favorite videos. On the web, this is the flow. Pick your user or sign in as someone else. You see a notification that this app hasn't been verified. This is where the test accounts come in. You won't see this dialog once your application has been approved and it's in production. Now you give the app permission to view your YouTube account. This is where the scopes come in. You only requested the read-only scope, so you see the prompt is explicitly for view your YouTube account. Finally, you see all of the data that the application will have access to. And here's where we end up. This is a list of my favorite YouTube videos. And of course, YouTube is just one example. There are so many things you can do with these user data APIs. An example is I made an application to look at my Gmail inbox and search for all of the emails with the word unsubscribe in them. Then I could roll up all the senders and make a really easy experience to clean out my inbox. There's lots of really cool stuff you can do here. Again, I know that was quick, but I wanted to give you a flavor of the steps you need to take to get things working. The full walkthrough is online, and we'll make sure that it's up to date as we evolve these APIs. That's user data and OAuth. Now I'm going to take some time to show you Google APIs and Dart on the cloud. Earlier, I discussed these two classes of APIs. We showed how to access user-focused data from a client application, but that's just the start. There are dozens of services provided by Google that you can use to enable all sorts of scenarios. Think of PubSub, BigQuery, Memory Store, translation, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, and many more. But we need to stop a second and consider the right way to access these APIs. It's fine for a user device to access user data once authenticated, just like we did in the demo application. But you probably don't want your end users directly accessing backend services. You want to create your service account credentials privately and not deploy them in an end user application. So you'll want a service sitting in the middle that can be accessed by your client app using user credentials that then connects to a backend API using service credentials. Now, wouldn't it be nice if you could use the same language for your front end and your back end? As I discussed in the What's New in Flutter session at I/O, we've been running Dart on Google Cloud to support the Dart and Flutter ecosystems for years. Sites like dartpad.dev handle thousands of concurrent users and millions of daily requests, all with Dart on Google Cloud. You can create a fully containerized Hello World app with Dart in 10 lines of code and deploy it in under 5 minutes with Google Cloud Run. But let's move beyond Hello World and access some services from our backend. Now, Firebase, specifically Cloud Firestore, is a great example of an API that you may want to access both directly from a client and via a service. Let me explain. It's already pretty easy to use Cloud Firestore in your Flutter application with the Cloud Firestore package. And you can use Cloud Firestore rules to restrict user read and write permissions to only their data. But sometimes you want tight control over how data is updated in Firestore. Maybe you want to ensure votes or visits are accurately calculated. Maybe you want to make sure that only legal moves can be made in a multiplayer game. These are times when you may want to introduce a service that runs your trusted code to modify sensitive data in Firestore, while still giving users read-only access to the data that is displayed as it's updated. Let's look at an example of using Cloud Firestore from a Dart service running on Cloud Run. To keep things simple, I'm just going to increment a counter in a transaction. So just like we did before, we need to create an API object from an authenticated HTTP client. We get our API object from the Google APIs package, just like before. Firestore API is the class we want to create. And just like before, it exposes the required scopes needed for the client. Creating the authenticated HTTP client is a bit different on the backend, though. We use the Google APIs auth package and a wordy but powerful function, client via application default credentials. Now, this API is smart. It knows how to access your local Google Cloud credentials if you're using the Google Cloud SDK on your development machine. Then when you deploy your application, it uses the metadata server that's exposed on every Cloud Run instance to access the necessary service accounts. This means the code you develop is the same code that you deploy, and you don't need to worry about having secrets or keys being accidentally committed to Git or pushed to a production server. Just like in our Hello World example, we use package shelf as our server library. When we get a request, we make a call to the Firebase API with a transaction that increments our hit count. Then we send the response to the client as JSON. Then it's just a simple matter of a couple GCloud commands to build and deploy our application. Now that our application is hosted, you can see that when I make a request, my service runs the transaction and sends back detailed information about how it was executed. You can also see the counter on the Firebase dashboard update in real time as I make requests. Now, there were a few details I didn't cover today, like setting up the service accounts to access the APIs. But don't worry. The source code for both the Hello World demo and the Firebase counter, plus a lot more, is at dart.dev/go/cloud. Now that we've looked at Google APIs on both the client and the server, I want to take a minute to look forward. The Google APIs libraries are currently based on a JSON RPC mechanism. We're investigating how we can improve the performance of these APIs by integrating with gRPC. gRPC is a high-performance RPC mechanism championed by Google. We already have gRPC libraries for Dart and code generators that can create Dart classes and service endpoints from a gRPC service description. So keep an eye on this space. We are also investigating deeper integration with offerings like Cloud Functions to make it easier to reuse your client code on serverless backends. Again, keep an eye on this space and check out dart.dev/go/cloud for the latest details. So to summarize, we have all of the pieces you need to access dozens of user-focused Google APIs from your Flutter applications. We also provide the building blocks to build Dart-based services on Google Cloud, powered by some amazing backend APIs. We can't wait to see what you build. Please make sure you check out these other Flutter sessions at I/O this year, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, we are open for any questions if you are having. And we will quickly wrap up the session.
We had one unanswered question that says that can we use GCP free like Firebase? GCP gives 300 credits free, like when you Google account, but you'll have to give your credit card details. Though the credits are free, but you still have to provide your credit card details. Up to $300 are free on GCP. More questions to put it on Q&A tab.
Also, am I audible? There is network loss from my side.
I guess there are no more questions for right now. We can wrap up the session.
I think no question is there, right? But I was one point, but I see network loss for my end. So if you are available and if you have genuinely participated in Google Solution Challenge, so you might have received $50 Google Cloud credit if you have applied for that. So that will be something that will be valid till year. So make sure, if not this year, let's try next year, and you will get that and utilize those for 1 year, right? So it will be something like you can implement in your projects also. So that's something is Google Free Tire. And if you have any credit card details or international payment enabled card, then Google Cloud will work. Like that free tier will be activated. Is it will not? It will give an error. Various error codes are there, and that will be there. So be aware for that. And meanwhile, we will be wrapping up the session now. And make sure to check out for tomorrow's session what we are going to cover there, and link will be something like ff5. Accordingly the same flow will be followed, right? Make sure to join in whensoever link will be activated. You will get to know about that by our social media. Make sure to follow that as well. I'm dropping in the chat if you have not already joined. And for your quick conversation and all, like WhatsApp group are there for quick notification. So make sure to join announcement channels, and accordingly I will see if that is full, then I will rechange the uh, data with another thing. It seems yesterday so many of you have joined in the announce channel. So something around, yeah, a few spaces are there. You can join in there. Yeah. Meanwhile, we are planning for like eventually this Flutter Festival campaign is around like 30 of March, but we will plan one, like you can say, live coding event, and that will be around 31st. And let's see for that. And we are waiting for confirmation and everything, like duty leaves and other things that we are making to plan this event. And let's make this happen. Yeah. So all those who are offline, you will be benefited for that, yeah, in another manner. But those who are online, we will take care of that also, because this will be something like hybrid event. So we will be covering like that, and then that's some session will be there accordingly. Yeah.
You never know in advance when you have the next idea for a song. And when you have an idea, you don't know if it's going to make it into the song. So that's why an app like Clockline is such an important. We can use it to record and organize our ideas at any time from anywhere.
We've been innovating music recording process ever since the studio has been built. Perhaps the most known for the Beatles, but naturally we shouldn't forget all the other great artists, starting from Pink Floyd, going to the latest and the greatest. So for the last few years, we've been specifically looking at the music writing process, and we can see how it really changed. And we noticed that people are coming up with the song ideas at the worst possible moments. So we wanted to develop something to make that initial spark easily captured to make sure that they don't lose their ideas.
Having all that in mind, we created a user-friendly, very minimalistic-looking iOS app. Artists can use it to record ideas and use tags to organize them directly in the app.
And people were asking for two things. They were asking for a version in their country, and then they were asking for Android. And there were so many of those requests all over our Facebook, all over our Instagram, all over our Twitter. We just had to develop it very, very quickly.
And we at Miquido said that, well, okay, we can do it, but it wasn't as easy as we expected. While the app itself looks simple, it actually has a very complicated structure inside. So we had to look into innovative solutions to make sure that we can get top line on Android quickly. After some research, we found Flutter.
Flutter is a free and open source SDK created by Google. It features a single codebase, which allows you to craft native apps on both iOS and Android at the same time. One of its key features is stateful hot reload. This allows developers to make changes while the app is running in real time, which speeds up the troubleshooting process immensely. Flutter also has plenty of customizable widgets to help you build beautiful interfaces in minutes.
And we used one of those widgets to create a pretty neat swipe menu. Overall, the implementation of Flutter's SDK and plugins was very, very simple. Thanks to Flutter, we were able to finish developing the Android version in just 10 weeks with a small team consisting only of 3 people, 1 Android and 2 front-end developers.
As we wanted to democratize music making, it was really important for us to have the both versions of the app available as soon as possible. So we are super excited that our app is now available on both iOS and Android.
Topline has made making songs so much easier. It has become a vital part in our creative process, and we're looking forward to making much more songs of it in the future.
Okay, then it's 8:10 and I'm closing the session, wrapping up. And stay safe. Bye bye. Make sure to join in tomorrow. And bye bye.